based in Much Wenlock in Shropshire, and we've been investigating the paranormal on and off for the past 3 years. I'm Chris, founder and team leader.
Hi, I'm Jodie, I'm co-founder and I'm the treasurer of the group.
And I'm Shell, and I handle all the team's social media accounts.
Sadly, tonight we're missing 2 of our members, Brian and Jay, who can't be with us for personal reasons.
Hello everybody, my name is Daniel McAdams. I am the co-founder and investigator with the Spirit Trackers Paranormal Investigation Team, otherwise known as the Spirit Trackers Team, and I'm super excited to be part of this video. We've been around since 2011. That is when my best friend Dylan and I discovered our mutual interest in paranormal investigation and decided, hey, let's form a team together. Since then, we've had multiple other members come through and join us and be a part of the team for a little while, but as it stands, we have 4 members currently: myself, Dylan Dick, who is the lead investigator, now the co-founder, my wife Kaylee McAdams, who's an investigator, and then our good friend Zach Coffey, who's an investigator as well. Both Kaylee and Zach joined us in 2016, and so we are now officially a 4-person team. Something interesting about our team, though, we've been around since 2011. This year threw us a curveball, with Dylan moving to Arizona, and then myself and Kaylee are moving out to Missouri. So instead of splitting the team up, we decided, hey, let's take advantage of this and start 3 different state branches for the Spirit Trackers team. So we now have Dylan in Arizona, who's getting ready to start the Spirit Trackers Team Arizona branch. Zach is going to stay here in Colorado and hold down the Spirit Trackers Team Colorado branch. And then Kaylee and myself have founded and started the Spirit Trackers Team Missouri branch. And we are all excited for this. We're excited to see where this goes and to see how this grows the team. We're also excited to be spreading out across the nation. We're not just going to be based specifically in Colorado. You'll be able to reach out and find us across the country now, and that's exciting for us.
We are a paranormal investigation team, and we are here to try and prove that ghosts actually exist and still walk amongst us, the living. The team consists of Ben and myself, John, and we are the Paranormal Boys.
Hi guys, and thanks so much for having us here. We're Ghost Hunting in New England podcast. Your host, Amelia.
And Beth.
And thank you so much for including us in on this. So about our podcast, we are 2 cousins. We share the same maternal grandmother, and we just go over New England. We do ghost hunts. We talk to other paranormal experts in the field. We do fun little segments like Ghosts in the News, kind of try to keep up on anything spooky. Our big thing is, though, we don't do demons.
So you can reach us. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We have a website. It's very cool. Amelia has worked very hard on that. It is ghosthuntinginnewengland.com. Or you could email us, ghosthuntinginnewengland@gmail.com.
Hi guys, we're the Paranormal Detectives. I'm Nathan.
And I'm Brian.
And we are a duo of paranormal investigators. We go across the UK trying to find the truth behind paranormal legends, mythology, UFO sightings, any of the unexplained. Our aim is just to seek the truth and basically to bring the truth to you guys in our YouTube videos.
Our YouTube videos, you can find them if you go to www.youtube.com/The Paranormal Detectives. Also on Facebook, facebook.com/The Paranormal Detectives Official. Instagram, search for The Paranormal Detectives. And on Twitter, it's ParaDetectives1.
Yeah, so we are Afterlife Road on YouTube. It's Afterlife and then the space and then Road. That's how you can find us. We're a YouTube channel, and we're mainly Michigan-based, Michigan, USA.
Hi, my name is Sai, and I am the founder and investigator for the Paranormal Patients Research Team. I am from Somerset, and I've been investigating for roughly 2 to 3 years.
What's up, you guys? It's OTN, and we're back again.
Today we're going to be doing a Q&A.
Right, growing up, I used to be into all kinds of stuff like magic, aliens, and the paranormal. I always found things that were unexplained quite interesting, and basically, I got into magic first, and then I just loved to hear about aliens and stuff. And the paranormal was really interesting because I watched Most Haunted, Taps, Ghost Adventures, and all them kind of stuff, and it really interests me. But when you're watching it on the TV, it's kind of, did they see it? Did they see it? Was it behind the camera? And but now I've started doing it, it's a different matter because we're starting to see stuff, we're starting to hear stuff, and oh mate, it's amazing. It does scare us though. We're both pretty scared. And
investigators.
Ben's experienced stuff growing up as an innocent mind, and
Yeah.
what you've seen, like
Yeah, just seeing like figures, like goes to play with me with my toys.
is every special occasion,
Easter.
Christmas, Easter, birthdays, everything, all these toys start going off. And he saw a picture of my dad, his granddad, which he's never met before, only when he was a few days old, and he knew who it was, and it was my dad that's come to visit, and he knew his name. He said, that's Ron. And it's just amazing, and it is amazing how we can see these things. Okay.
I first became interested in the paranormal just as kind of a weird kid. It was always something that really interested me. From a pretty religious family, so angels were always kind of talked about. And there, as I grew up, I became a Reiki master. I'm also a professional tarot card reader. So metaphysics was always big for me, but I've always had these really spooky experiences happening around me. I totally believe in ghosts, and I got hooked up with this other group, and we just kind of took it from there. As Beth and I came together, obviously we're family, we've known each other for almost 30 years. We started liking it and hanging out, and there was a famous ghost at a local supermarket here in Massachusetts in the USA, and we just went and had a lot of fun. And a waitress at a restaurant we were telling her where we were going. She was like, "You girls should start a podcast," and we said yes, we should. So that's how that happened.
So that's how the podcast came to be. And so very similar to Amelia, I was always into ghosts and UFOs and just scary stuff as a kid. And so Edgar Cayce was actually one of my favorite people to read about when I was little. And so I've just always been very interested in the idea of an afterlife, in those unexplainable things. And so, yeah, we just kind of have this thing in common, and we're going with it.
So personally, I became interested in the paranormal when I was about 7 or 8 years old. I had my first experience. I was on a hike with my mom, and this person appeared behind us, walking behind us. We got over to the side of the path to let this person by, and this person was an older lady dressed all in black in Victorian-esque type clothing. Long black kind of overcoat, a wide-brimmed black hat with little tassels on the side, and she was just kind of shuffling along behind us. And when my mom and I hike, we like to kind of walk at our own pace and go a little slower, so we were going to let her pass. Well, we stepped off to this side of the path, and she slowed down behind us too. So my mom and I kept walking a little bit. We got to a little turn, turned around behind us to see if she was closer, and she had disappeared. We spent the next couple minutes trying to search for her to see where she had gone to. We went back up the path a little ways. We searched down a side path that joined on. We looked down the sides of the little hill that this path was on, but there was no sign that she had fallen down, that she had walked somewhere else. She had just disappeared. Since that day, I became fascinated with ghosts and angels and campfire stories and urban legends, but I never really embraced that until 2010. In 2010, I was watching a series on roller coasters on the Travel Channel, and I'm a huge roller coaster buff. I love roller coasters, and they're having a marathon talking about all these different roller coasters. Well, that show ended, and the next show that came on was a most haunted locations in the United States show, and I was going to turn the TV off, but I saw the Stanley Hotel pop up on it. I was like, hey, that's in my home state of Colorado. I've been up to that city. I know where that is. I want to see why this is included in this most haunted locations in the United States list. So I watched it. They talked about Waverly Hills, they talked about the Villisca Axe murder house, and they talked about the Stanley Hotel along with 5 other ones that I don't remember off the top of my head. And once the show ended, I was hooked. I was like, hey, I didn't realize that all this was out there. I didn't realize that this could be so cool to get into, and I wanted to start experiencing some of those paranormal stories that I was hearing witnesses give on that show for myself. And so in 2010, I started reading online, started looking at books, and jumped in with both feet. And then in 2011, my best friend Dylan and I were just kind of hanging out and talking, and we both started talking about ghost adventures, and we both realized, hey, we have a mutual interest in the paranormal. Why not start our own paranormal group and start researching and documenting the paranormal for ourselves? So we started the Spirit Trackers Paranormal Investigation Team, and we haven't looked back since.
My interest in the paranormal came when I was very young. Obviously watching lots of movies, lots of stories I was told. But it wasn't until I got older that I really wanted to find out more about the paranormal, investigate and try and answer the questions everybody else wanted to ask.
It started for me when I lived in Bedfordshire with my family. We'd just lost our pet, and we were seeing silvery white flashes phasing through the walls where Blue used to sleep at the bottom of the stairs. That's what made me start to think what was actually going on, starting to research the paranormal and asking people what they thought about it.
So it was thanks to this guy that I got into paranormal investigating. He invited me along to the Donna prison in Shrewsbury because I was a bit of a skeptic at first. Things happened there where I was doing Ouija boards and stuff like that, unexplained it, and on the Ouija board we were getting proper activity. So it changed me into a believer. So yeah, thanks to this guy.
So I've always had an interest in the paranormal since I was a kid, where a friend of mine, she used to come round to my house and we used to sit in my dad's shed with nothing but a torch and a ghost book and read each other the ghostly stories. As I grew older, I started watching all the paranormal programs on TV, but that probably turned me more into a skeptic than anything, because I didn't like to believe everything that I see on TV, and a lot of it seems really far-fetched. And so when Jodie said to me that he and Chris were thinking about starting up a team, that's when my interest really got going, and I'm glad that I joined with these guys.
Growing up, we all sort of just loved those scary stories, mystery books that you would read as a little kid, and then that kind of turned into just watching all of these reality TV shows, Ghost Hunters, Adventures, all this stuff on TV. Me being a documentary student and a co-president of the Paranormal Club at my school, Michigan State, we just sort of started going out filming little documentary videos about these haunted places near us, and that's sort of how we just started to happen upon it.
It's kind of hard to think about when I first became interested in the paranormal, but it would have to be when I was younger. When I was younger, I was always interested in it, and I wanted to see how it worked. And when I was younger, my mom used to say that I'd wake up from naps and say that my dead grandmother was brushing my hair, and she used to get really freaked out. So
I think the first time I got interested in it, I was in DFACS when I was 5. I saw a ghost, and I've always been a fan of scary movies, especially Supernatural. That was always a good TV show for me. I just always found it interesting.
Locations. We've been really lucky as paranormal investigators. We've got to take on a lot of the big locations in the UK that a lot of teams don't get the chance to take on. Some that are no longer available anymore. We've tackled the Ancient Ram, fantastic place made famous by John Humphreys, famous for incubus activity, and once upon a time guests would actually jump through the windows to escape the place. Incredible place, very lucky to investigate. We investigated East Drive. Obviously 30 East Drive is one of the most famous ghost stories throughout the world, with the Pritchard family actually being driven out of the home. A film was made about it, When the Lights Go Out. You don't get much more famous than that. And obviously we were also lucky to investigate the Cage, the Witches' Prison in St Osyth, Essex. Famous location, great location, unfortunately no longer available to the public, but brilliant location.
Well, talking of the Cage, that would actually be my favourite location that we've investigated to date. The Cage was probably our first biggest investigation, really. And I think it was our proving ground. I think we handled it very well. We had some great activity there. And I think now looking back on the Cage, it's a shame because it's somewhere we'd love to go back, but because we can't anymore and the Cage is now closed, it kind of just feels that we're super duper lucky to actually have been there in the first place. So the Cage, for the activity that we had on the night, for the location, just for everything about it, it's a fantastic location and one that we're...
Totally agree.
Yeah, very... What about yourself?
Favourite location is actually probably an unknown location. It's actually where we filmed our latest episode.
The recent one.
The Poltergeist home. It's basically somebody has contacted us about poltergeist activity in their home. But what I like about it is, A, it scared me senseless, but B, it's not investigating stories from the 70s or the 1800s or the past in general. It's happening here and now. And to take that on at its highest point of activity is every investigator's dream, really. So that's definitely mine, and I just hope the episode thoroughly shows the activity that really is going on there. But yeah, that's my favourite, definitely.
So of all the locations we've investigated so far, I know as a team I can say that the Dickens Opera House in Longmont, Colorado is far and away our favourite location that we've investigated. We've been there 4 times. We've had multiple experiences each and every time. You never know what's going to happen. We've had some really incredible experiences and pieces of evidence that we've captured there. We've experienced everything from footsteps, knocking on walls, hearing voices, hearing growls, having intelligent conversations on the spirit box, having intelligent EVP responses. One of our guest investigators on an investigation we did there back in 2018 got his neck scratched really bad. We've been touched, we've had spirits blow on us, we've caught shadows on cameras. It's an absolutely incredible location. You never know what you're going to experience there, but you know that you're going to at least experience or capture something cool when you go investigate that location. Personally, my favorite location I've investigated was a small little orphanage that was in Brighton, Colorado. Unfortunately, it got torn down in 2016, but thankfully Dylan and I had the privilege of being able to investigate it twice back in 2015. And it was a small little location. It's not a huge place. There were 7 original buildings. Only 4 of those original buildings were still standing at the time we investigated. That was the most haunted location I have ever been to. As a lot of you are aware, when you go on a paranormal investigation, there's no guarantee you're going to experience anything. You could go to Waverly Hills, the Stanley Hotel. You could go to the Hellfire Caves and spend the entire night there and not have one experience or capture one piece of evidence. Yet there are times you could go to a location and in an hour capture more evidence than you thought you could possibly capture. And that was the case with this location. We only got to investigate it twice. Once for an hour, once for about a half an hour. And the first time we went, all we had with us was a digital recorder. But on that digital recorder, we captured 24 pieces of audio evidence that we can't explain in 1 hour. We also had over a dozen other possible pieces of evidence that we captured, but for the sake of credibility and for not having video to back it up, we can't say either way. But we saw a 7-foot tall shadow there. It was just the 2 of us in the building, and at one point we saw the 3rd shadow standing head and shoulders above us, which is a creepy feeling to see a shadow that big standing over you when you know it's just supposed to be the 2 of you. We had footsteps, we had intelligent noise responses, when we asked for spirits to make a noise to let us know if they were there. We caught laughing, music, voices of children. It was pretty incredible. We also had experiences where Dylan saw a hand go in front of his face. We saw some 2x4 beams that separated two of the rooms start to warp and bend and kind of go out of focus, and we both witnessed that at the same time. And then I saw a full-bodied apparition standing directly in front of me at one point too there. Unfortunately, it got torn down before we were able to get all our gear back, so we were never able to get there with any infrared cameras or any of our high-tech gear that we have now. But that location is one that's going to live on in memory and be one that I'm always going to be glad that we got to investigate.
Okay, so my favourite location's got to be the Jordan Dragon. You know, after drinking in there quite often, I always felt a presence. You know, there could be a presence there, and to finally get a chance to go in and, you know, on 2 occasions and, you know, do a thorough investigation was, a dream come true, really.
So for me, probably my favourite location that we've investigated so far is probably Morton Corbett Castle. I really enjoyed investigating there. We went on 3 separate occasions. Once just me and Jodie went during the day, and we got some really good activity. And then we went as the 3 of us, and then on the 3rd occasion we took Brian with us. And I always feel really at home there, kind of. It feels really, you know, it's a nice feeling when I walk in there. So, and it's really beautiful. So that's probably my favourite location so far.
I think my favourite location has to be our very first investigation, which is the Bridgnorth Railway Tunnel. For a couple of reasons, really. It was our first real experience, and it was one heck of an experience investigating that place. For everything that we experienced and went through investigating it, it was quite a first time. The second reason is we were later joined by the paranormal detectives investigating it when we returned in season 2, and they found paranormal activity themselves, which for me is a great confirmation of our investigation. It shows that we got it right. So it will always be a favourite for me.
Nearby, there's this huge cemetery called Soup Cemetery, and it's creepy. It's old, from the 1800s, and supposedly a witch named Elizabeth is buried there. And whenever you go there, crazy stuff happens. It's by far my favorite. It's the only place I'll say that anyone that goes there will feel something, you know, whether that be a ghost or not. I don't really believe in ghosts, but you can't deny when a place feels creepy, and this place feels creepy every time you go.
All the places we've investigated so far, I have to say that either the Mansfield Training School or Fort Wetherill was my favorite. I don't really think I could pick one.
I've only done 2 investigations with these 2, but I think Lake Lanier was the best one.
Oh, that one was a good one too.
Your favourite? What is your favourite?
Morton Corbett.
Morton Corbett. Morton Corbett is my favourite, as we've got the most activity from this place. I mean, we did a spirit box session and it answered every single question. I mean, there's a guy that Paul Homyard, he's supposed to haunt Morton Corbett. In fact, we're at Morton Corbett now. And Paul has come through the spirit box. He said his name, he said Ben's name, he said my name. He likes Ben more. And we've had a bit of poltergeist activity here where we had the spirit box up and we said, are you getting pissed off with us now? And the spirit box went, I've had it, and fell off the flipping thing. I'll show that now.
I've seen a ghost.
Ben saw a ghost here. He's took a picture, and on the first flash, what did you see?
I've just seen kind of like a dress running away from me.
It was like a figure running away. And when I was over by some alcove bit, I saw a face, and I could see the face distinctively. It was staring me directly in the face, and it was shy. It was kind of through the rays of the light, and I looked it up, pictures of people that own this place, and I got a picture of Sir Vincent Corbett, and it was a spitting image of the face that I saw. So
Didn't look happy there.
it didn't look very happy. We were in his grounds. Anyway, so yeah, Morton Corbett Castle. That's.
My favorite was, it's kind of a toss-up between Market Basket and the Powder House. Market Basket, I had a lot of fun with because I just felt like we could be really goofy. We were in a supermarket and there were a lot of kind of loaded questions that I could ask, supermarket related. But the Powder House was really fun because that was the first kind of like real investigation that we went out and did. And it was in the pouring rain in Somerville. And so it definitely made for an interesting dynamic.
Definitely. And I would agree. I think those were both awesome ones we went on.
Favourite location? For me, that would have to be our first investigation, the Apple Tree Inn. We've been there 2-3 times now, and every time we've had some great activity. So, yeah, for me, it would definitely be the Apple Tree Inn.
I would say our most important piece of equipment is voice recorders. Anything good to catch an EVP. Beth and I keep it extremely simple when we go out. We have voice recorders, we have a K2 meter, we usually have a camcorder with us, and we've actually caught some stuff on the camcorder, which has always been interesting. Mm-hmm. But I'd say by far voice recorder to try to catch something. Some of that audio is always our best bet.
Absolutely. We recently added a thermometer, but I would agree. We probably get the most use out of our voice recorders.
So when I think about paranormal investigating and tools, I think the human body is one of the biggest pieces of equipment you can actually use. When you think about your own senses, your own feelings, your own thoughts, when you're investigating a paranormal location and a haunting,
it's invaluable. Definitely.
It's totally invaluable. However, if I'm to handpick a piece of equipment, a necessary piece of equipment for all paranormal investigators is a camcorder, because on a camcorder you can capture photographs, which you may capture something ghostly, a ghostly orb, a ghostly apparition, something which shouldn't be there, light anomalies, for example, something moving by, a figure. I mean, we've caught several things moving.
Yeah. For me, it's massively valuable because I think unless the evidence is recorded in some way, whether it be audio or visual, unless it's recorded, you will question it yourself forever.
Yeah.
And everybody else will question it. It is just hearsay if it's not recorded. So I think that validates every other piece of equipment, in my opinion.
Exactly. Also, if you're doing a Ouija board session, you can actually watch back. You've got a record of the answers that you're getting, and you can listen back as well with the audio. So you can listen back to your spirit box sessions, your EVP sessions, and you have something to actually monitor and go back and look at. So a camcorder, by all means, is the most vital tool for me personally.
Yeah, which is why we use 6 of them on every investigation.
Exactly.
It's the first and most important thing we invested in.
Absolutely.
The most important ghost hunting equipment that we have is the
spirit box.
The spirit box. I mean, we've got so many good responses. We know it's real, and it definitely works. We got called weird basically, and you don't say that on the radio. We've got names. We've got it. Ben. We've got Ben. They loved Ben. It called my name out. What more can you say? That is the best piece of equipment. I mean, we do like the K2. We do like all the other stuff that we've got, but the spirit box, we love it, don't we? He loves it as well.
I would say would be the EVP recorder, the digital recorder. That's the kind of device you need it. You need it to hear things the human ear can't hear. So for me, yeah, it would be the EVP recorder.
So the most important piece of equipment in our kit, I would say, is a tie between our video cameras and our digital recorders. The video cameras are awesome because you can visually document what's going on. You're not going to necessarily be capturing visual evidence of apparitions, orbs, mists, stuff getting thrown, But what you are going to be able to do is you're going to be able to capture your own reactions. You're going to be able to capture the experiences and reactions that your co-investigators have on camera. And that will help you be able to remember and relive that experience and add some credibility to what's going on. It's also going to help you, when you're doing evidence review, to be able to go back and watch the video to see if that voice you captured on your digital recorder, if it might have been somebody in the room talking with you, or if there was nobody else that was in the room talking, then you know that, hey, it's a credible piece of evidence. That was a spirit voice I just captured on the digital recorder, especially if you have a lot of people together. You can also use it if you capture an amazing audio piece of evidence to show, hey, as you can see in the video, nobody else was talking, or you can be like, hey, I was by myself, as you can clearly see in this video. So having the video makes it a lot easier to explain and back up pieces of evidence that you capture or things that you experience while you're there. It's also awesome because you have that chance to capture something amazing visually on camera, such as a full-bodied apparition, a mist, a shadow, something getting thrown or moved. So it's an all-around amazing piece of equipment. You can also capture EVPs and audio anomalies with the camera too, because it has the built-in audio functions, the built-in microphone. So the camera is probably the most well-rounded piece of equipment that you can have in your kit. Even if it isn't an infrared camera, I would highly recommend anybody who's just starting out to at least have a video camera of some sort to use for their paranormal investigations. Digital recorders are the second most important piece of equipment that we have in our kits. Why? Because EVPs are the most compelling piece of paranormal evidence that we have for proof of the paranormal. You can take a skeptic on a ghost hunt, on an investigation, have it just be the two of you, just him with your team, ask some questions, hear nothing back, and then play back the recording, and even a skeptic is going to be curious as to how a voice or this random sound that nobody heard and that nobody made in the moment ended up on a digital recorder. That EVPs have turned a lot of people from skeptics and hardcore skeptics and non-believers into at least open-minded believers or open-minded skeptics wondering what more is there out there. Also, when you get intelligent responses on a digital recorder, or if you get like full-on sentences, those are mind-blowing. You can capture some really incredible stuff with just a simple digital recorder. And with a digital recorder, it's so small you can keep it in your pocket and carry it with you wherever you go. So whether you're going on a work trip, whether you're going on a family vacation, maybe you're just going for a walk in the park, you can have it in your pocket, and if something happens, or if you find or stumble across a location that's paranormally active, you at least have that digital recorder with you, and you can then, therefore, do an in-the-moment, spur-of-the-moment investigation and EVP session, and you're not just going to walk through and go, oh, I wish I had something with me. And digital recorders are not that expensive either. You can find a decent quality one for $20 at the store or online. And if you really want to get into it, you can get a high-quality Zoom or Tascam recorder that's going to give you the high-quality audio recordings for under $100. So the video cameras and digital recorders are the most important pieces of equipment that are in our kit.
Definitely our senses. When you feel like something isn't right, something isn't right. Get out of there. Trust your gut is all I'm trying to say. Get out of there. Yeah, you need to trust your gut. If you're getting a bad vibe, you don't need to stay there. We found many times when you feel something and you feel something's not right, it might be correlated with evidence later on, so just trust your gut. You are the best tool you can have.
Be spooky.
Be spooky.
The most important piece of equipment that we have would probably have to be the EMF. Do you agree?
I think it'd be the walkies, because something can happen in a solo, and we never know if we didn't have our walkies.
But I feel like the EMF is more important in my mind, just because of the fact that it helps us actually realize if something is there. You know what I mean? Other than stuff happening around you, which has happened to us a few times.
Let's just say we disagree. We agree to disagree.
We agree to disagree.
So in my opinion, the most important piece of equipment is definitely a camera of any sort. It doesn't have to be a fancy one. Night vision's good for investigating at night, but it doesn't have to be night vision. Your phone is just as good. But without a camera, you have no way of proving your evidence to other people. So it's a good tool to be able to show what happened on an investigation to other people and get the evidence out there.
Yeah, I second that. I think the decent video camera, you know, obviously what Shell said, you need to capture the evidence, and a good video camera is essential for catching the evidence.
Whilst I do agree that video cameras are quite important, I do think that alongside it, definitely a seriously important piece of kit is the digital voice recorder, because it is one of the most reliable pieces of equipment out there, and it is an easy way to capture the paranormal occurring.
Our best piece of evidence by far was actually at Soup Cemetery, funny enough. Well, not that funny, you know, I said it's the creepiest place, so it makes sense that the best stuff has come out of there. Coming from the direction of Elizabeth Soup, we heard a loud hissing noise, and at the same time we hear this hiss, which was not captured on camera, you see a shadow cross by in front of a light. So that was pretty spooky when you see someone that wasn't physically there passing by in front of a light. And then we went back and we heard a woman yelling at us from the same direction of the Elizabeth Soup grave. Disembodied, we could hear it with our ears. So that was pretty spooky. Stay spooky.
Stay spooky.
Perfectly fine. But then, when we got in the cemetery and we actually had to use it, it died. At the same exact time that the night vision died. The spirit box died.
Guys?
Despite our technical difficulties, Emily remarkably captured something terrifying on her camera. You can see this figure moving before Emily pans her camera, proving either somebody else was in the cemetery with us that we didn't see, or something was with us.
So, favourite pieces of evidence. We were at the Wenlock Edge, and there's well-known stories of Wenlock Edge. There's a headless horseman that roams around there, and on the ghost box, as we were walking away from where we were investigating back to the car, we had the ghost box going, and it came through. You know, I think Chris said something like, "Is there anybody watching us?" And it goes headless horseman, just like that. And I think it's just a fabulous piece of evidence.
Which was also interesting because Chris and another investigator that was with us that night had heard the sound of a horse on the lower path of Wenlock Edge too, hadn't you?
Yeah, it was a heavy gallop that approached us from behind fairly quickly and stopped right behind me. And it's unmistakable the feeling you get in your feet when a horse is galloping behind you. The floor was shaking and then it just stopped.
If you want to know more about the tales of Wenlock Edge, check out our Ghostly Tales episode from Wenlock Edge.
But here's the clip.
Like headless horseman.
So, my favourite piece of evidence is actually from the George the Dragon. To set the scene, this was the second night I felt that we needed to go back and try a few experiments. One being the Singapore theory. We went back with a couple of bottles of cider and some snacks. We sat down in the main bar and had a chat and a drink, and we invited anyone to come down, and we did get a result with hits on the K2 occurring. But it was afterwards when we
filmed the intro.
We decided to film the intro in the restaurant. As Jodie panned left and then returned panning right, there seemed to be something moving in the doorway against the movement of the camera. With it panning back to the right, the arm seemed to be moving left out of shot. It took me and Jodie about 2 or 3 hours to try and put together that there was nothing in the hallway that could have made that white shape through the archways.
And it was like a hand down against, you have the silhouette of a hand like kind of cut, kind of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they had that behind the door. And it was you
There
could
was
really
nothing.
see, you could really see it.
It was a white arm, a white sleeve, and there was nothing in the hallway that could make that shape. There was no white posters or anything up against the walls. Nothing. We could find nothing to make the shape and prove it to be just regular. So here's the clip. Watch this.
So my favourite piece of evidence so far is a toss-up. I couldn't decide really which piece to put in. The EVP I got alone at the White Ladies Priory was pretty awesome because it was during my solo, and it was the first time I've ever done a solo on my own, and I managed to get a great voice through the digital voice recorder. But I'm going to go with, we were at Morton Corbett during the day. There was myself and Jodie. We'd been taking a few photos, and I think we were about to do maybe a spirit box session
I think so, yeah.
or something, and we were just setting up the cameras and so that we got us both in shot. And I'd got the little handheld camera that I'd been using to take photos, and I popped it on a ledge and left it there whilst I was fiddling about with one of the other cameras. And as I went to reach for it to pick it back up, before my hand got to it, so I was, probably about there, it took a photo by itself, which was kind of surprising at the time, and we found it quite strange. So when we got home, we immediately went to check the camera. We plugged it into the computer, and the photo that it had taken was corrupt. There was no image data, so we have no idea what was on that picture. But that was probably the best piece of evidence I think we got.
It could have been a ghost taking a selfie or something.
Yeah. We all love a selfie.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, the camera in question has never malfunctioned prior or since.
Yeah.
And there's no way to accidentally press the shutter, and there was nothing in the aperture to cause the shutter to depress.
No.
There was no way that camera could have taken the picture on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Check this out.
Yeah, it's fine. You can see you even when you're this side. You might. That just took a fucking photo by itself. I didn't even touch that. You even when you're this side. You might. That just took a fucking photo by itself.
Oh, so the best piece of evidence that we've caught were the orbs at my mom's house in Weymouth, especially the one that was sitting right next to Amelia. And
I would totally agree. That has been our big claim to fame. We caught a whole bunch of orbs on the camcorder, and it was super awesome and a lot of fun. Later, we went through and we're a little different than some groups. A lot of groups, they like to do the history and then go investigate. We kind of like to investigate and then we really focus on the history. That way we're not trying to find something. We're always looking for something, but we're not like focused in specifically on finding something. And we actually were able to find a death in the house. We were able to find a lot of history. So that was really exciting and really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, the best evidence I feel we captured was at Knowlton Church. I took a photo near the end of the investigation and managed to capture what appears to be a figure. There was only the two of us up there, me and my other team member. We have no explanation for why this figure was there, but for me that was the best piece of evidence we've caught.
So the best piece of evidence that we've caught to date. We haven't released it yet online. Hopefully by the end of the year we will have this investigation episode up on our YouTube channel. But it is a piece of evidence that blew my mind when I saw it. It's one that blew all my fellow investigators' minds, and that many of my friends who are in the paranormal field, I sent them this video to analyze it, and they can't explain it. And then I've gone on to show people who aren't paranormal investigators, like coworkers and friends, and it creeps them out. And it honestly still creeps me out to watch it too. We were investigating the Wings Over the Rockies Museum in January of this year, 2019. And there were 6 of us there, plus 3 event coordinators. There was the 4 people on my team, me, Dylan, Zach, and Kaylee, and then our good friends on Ghost Theory crew, JT and Matt. So we'd started off, we were in one corner of this massive hangar. The Wings of the Rockies Museum is an old World War II military hangar, so it's massive. So in one corner of this hangar, to start off with, when I saw a shadow figure across the hangar. So Zach, Kaylee, and I went over to investigate the shadow figure I'd just seen. We left JT, Matt, and Dylan in the corner that we'd all started out at. And all 3 of the event coordinators were hanging out by the front desk so that they didn't interfere with us. Well, a few minutes later, Dylan decided to go put his jacket back at headquarters, which was up at the front desk. So he's walking by himself, when all of a sudden, in the right corner of his screen, he's in an open area in the hangar. You see this at least 7-foot tall, stick figure-like thing walk across the frame. It's semi-transparent, it has the motion of walking, and it's like a stick figure. We can't explain it. The best thing we can think of to try to analyze it against is the Fresno night crawlers, if you are familiar with those. And if you're not, those things are creepy too. I would highly recommend doing a Google search for the Fresno night crawlers. He was clearly by himself, and I did an analyzation of all 4 cameras that we had running at the time, and none of us were shining lights toward him. None of us were anywhere close to him. So we have no explanation for how or why or what this thing was that was walking through this open space. And Dylan didn't see it with his own eyes. At the Wings of the Rockies Museum, we weren't able to go completely dark because of some emergency lights that they had and exit lights that they needed to keep up. So you could see around you once your eyes adjusted to the dark. So we know that this thing was not visible in the visible light spectrum, otherwise Dylan would definitely have seen it. It was only captured on his camera, which leads us to believe it exists in the infrared spectrum. And roll clip. Let me know what you think.
Bit of evidence we've had is definitely from the spirit box, because basically at Morton Corbett, again, it answered every single question. And to top it off, we had the spirit box sitting up on the wall with the speaker, and it wasn't answering us to start towards the end, and we goes, "Are you pissed off with us now? Have you had it? Basically, have you pissed off with us?" And it went, "I've had it," and the thing just tippled over and fell on the floor.
Are you sick and tired of us now?
I mean, how can you explain that? That's basically told us he's had it, he's had enough of us, and he's chucked our spirit box on the floor.
Since we've been investigating the paranormal, we have caught what we believe is a lot of credible evidence, from EVPs to video footage to things picked up on electronic devices, your EMFs, your ovuluses, your spirit boxes. But for me personally, I think the most credible and most impressive piece of evidence we have caught was caught at Dell's graveyard. We were there assisting Morris&Anderson Paranormal and showing them the location, as it's one of our stomping grounds, and we wanted to introduce them to it. Myself and Brian separated and were just taking photos. We felt at points during the night we were almost being dragged away. We were taking photos and we caught this. It's, in my opinion, quite a clear photo of a young girl stood by a grave. We've tried many different editing softwares on the image. We've tried to reduce shadows, as you can see from the image here. We've tried different things to try and disprove this as being pareidolia or something else, but we cannot disprove it, and we also have a lot of good feedback on this photo. When it first came out, I actually sent the photo to about 60 different people and asked them their opinions. I didn't give them any thoughts on my opinion or what we thought we saw, and I would say at least 95% of people said exactly what we thought. It was a young girl. The only discrepancy is a lot of people said she was holding a child, and a lot of people said she had her arms folded, but I think out of everything that's a very small discrepancy. So that's definitely my favourite piece of evidence. What about you?
I think my piece of evidence which I prefer the most, I mean, I'm a big fan of EVPs. To me, they're one of the most, they can be the most explainable pieces of evidence. They can be debunked quite easily, but also when you get a really good one, they're very hard to disprove and debunk. And to be honest, I think we have caught a lot of EVPs which are hard to debunk. We actually made a video of our greatest EVPs as well.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
And I'm going to take a clip from that video and insert it into this video now. I think my favourite EVP out of all of these is actually the one from when we went to Acton Burnell Castle. Great location, great investigation we had, plenty of jump scares through the night. And as we were on the one side of the castle and walking towards the other side, as we walked by, we captured this.
I agree.
I think location 2 is where the majority of the stuff's happened.
So, to us, I mean, as we always... So, when we edit our videos, we always agree on what we hear. If we don't agree on what we hear, and that's whether it's an EVP or a spirit box session, we don't include the answer, we don't write it in text.
Just left.
Basically, we just leave it as it is.
And we do have some good debates, and
yeah, we don't always agree. Sometimes we do disagree, but for the times we are 100% in agreement, we include it into the video. On this occasion, we both agreed that the word that we heard whispered into the camera was the word devil. Now, this came about 5 minutes after we had an Ovilus response on the Ovilus machine, and the answer which came up on the Ovilus device was the word demon. So we had the word demon, and then 5 minutes later the word devil whispered into the camera, which was actually situated in the middle of the courtyard, I guess, if you want to call it that.
It was extremely creepy, I'll be honest.
It was.
It was a very active night.
Again, didn't hear it at the time, but upon listening back, we had a bit of a shock listening to that camera back and hearing that whispered into it. So, for me personally, my favourite piece of evidence, EVP-wise, is the word devil.
I'd have to say it was the time that we went to Fort Wetherill, and we literally were sitting there with the EMF on, and it just kept going crazy, and we tried talking to whatever spirit or entity it was, and we asked if we should take a left or a right, and whenever we like said the word, it would go off with what direction it wanted us to go, and it went on for probably like 10 minutes or so, I'd say.
The best piece of evidence I could think of would be when I went into Lake Lanier. I told y'all not to do this. I thought I debunked it, but later last night I found this on my arm after I came out.
It actually looks like almost a scar.
So if money, time, and location are no object, there are two places that come to mind that I know that we as a team would absolutely love to go to. The first one is Poveglia in Italy. Ever since watching that Ghost Adventures episode, Dylan and I have done a lot of research into Poveglia, and we would love to be able to spend 2 or 3 nights there to see what happens and document whatever we can. That location is up there at the top of our list. We've talked about that since 2011, wanting to go to Poveglia if we ever got the opportunity. In the United States domestically, Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Kentucky is hands down our most wanted place to investigate. We've talked about this for forever. We talk about it every single year. We talk about it pretty much every time we hang out and do a paranormal investigation. And anytime somebody asks us where we want to go investigate, our first answer is always Waverly Hills Sanitarium. And we're hoping in the next year or two to actually be able to get out there and investigate. But we've just heard so many amazing things about the sanatorium. All the mainstream paranormal shows that investigate there, we'd love to watch and see what they capture and experience at the sanitarium at Waverly Hills. And like I said earlier, it was one of the 3 locations I remember being in that most haunted video that got me back into the paranormal and kicked off my passion and career in paranormal investigation. So that, and everybody on my team, me, Zach, Dylan, and Kaylee, we're all passionate explorers. We love to take part in urban exploration, otherwise known as urbex, which is the exploration of man-made buildings which are usually abandoned. And Waverly Hills Sanitarium is this massive, massive building. It's abandoned, well, semi-abandoned. It's still used for tours, and you can book it for ghost hunts. But it's no longer in operation. It has such an amazing history to it, and it's massive. So we'd be able to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, being able to go do a paranormal investigation there, and be able to go explore it and take a lot of awesome photos and video there too during the day.
Right, dream location. That is a really good question. One that is quite easy for me to answer.
I was going to say, it's an easy one for him to answer.
I am a massive, I don't like to use the word fan because obviously it was a tragedy, but I have a massive interest in the sinking of the Titanic and all the conspiracy theories that surround it. And I think investigating the location of where the Titanic went down on that fateful night on April the 15th, 1912, over 1,500 people lost their lives in such a small location, so to speak, long time before you could argue they should have. Children, young families, all lost their lives a long time before they were probably meant to. So I think the energy there would be fantastic. It would obviously be a difficult one to do. You'd be at sea, you would be on a boat, so obviously contamination could be a massive issue, but if I had a dream investigation, that would definitely be it.
So if I could go anywhere, I think I'd have to go to the Dana prison in Shrewsbury. Again, it's one of the first places I went to, and it's so big. There are so many places that I still haven't been, and if I could go, I would. Investigate every inch of that place.
I think what he means by go there is not with a pre-organised tour like we've been before, but literally
on
us on
our
our
own.
own.
Yeah. Maybe collab with some other
real investigation.
people.
Yeah, if any investigators are out there watching this who are in the area and want to collab, we will be looking for teams to join us at Dharma because it's very expensive to hire out. So
it's a £1,200 bill.
Yeah.
So we're looking for people to team up and share the cost, and it will just be an investigation, not an event. An investigation.
Yeah.
Anybody interested?
Do our own thing. Yeah.
Anybody interested? Message us, and we'll start getting sorted.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle.
So for me, I'm going to say the Ancient Ram Inn. It's a place that's been on a lot of TV shows. A lot of groups have investigated there. It's supposedly one of the most active places in the UK. So for me, I think I'd like to go there and see it for myself and see if we can capture any of the evidence that other people have managed to get. So that's definitely high on my list. Joe?
I'd really like to do some sort of big castle, the history, and especially if we could do Ludlow Castle, because it's linked to our ghostly tale from Hopton Castle, where it's like I think it's Colonel Moore got taken to Ludlow Castle, to probably rot in prison really. So it'd be interesting to see if we could get any response from him there. So. Yeah.
If money was no object, Ben.
Yeah, I would go to where Billy the Kid was
Old
shot.
William H. Bonney.
Yeah, and just do an investigation there. See if we can get it on the spirit box.
He loves the Western Times. Mine would be. I've always wanted to do 30 East Drive. That's a couple of £100 for us to go there. We will actually want to watch the movie in the house, which would be quite spooky. But
yeah.
if no money was an object, it would be the Stanley Hotel in America, where Stephen King got all his ideas for The Shining and all his movies, and it's supposed to be really haunted there. So The Shining, the Stanley Hotel.
I think it would be fun to do the Queen Mary.
Queen Mary.
Mm-hmm.
That's a ship that's docked in California.
Mm-hmm.
That would be fun. I'd like to, it says time and money were no object, so I'd like to take advantage of this and investigate somewhere in like Europe, take advantage of the free trip to Europe. There's old creepy places there. I've been to Italy once, creepy places there. I'd go somewhere old, historic.
If I could investigate anywhere, it would have to be, I'd say, a hospital. Any kind of hospital. I feel that's the kind of place a lot of people pass, a lot of drama happens, a lot of stuff goes on in these places. So yeah, for me, it would be a hospital. Any hospital.
Where's our dream investigation, Beth?
Well, so it's funny. I'm up here in Prince Edward Island, and I was looking into some of the spooky things that go on around Prince Edward Island, and there are all sorts of shipwreck areas. And so I think that if those were not objects, and we weren't, tied into this New England ghost hunting thing, I would say we should definitely come up here and investigate some of the shipwrecks, because not only do we share kind of like a spooky family history, but we also share a family history of fishermen and people who were very involved in the sea.
That is true. I'd say for me, money no object, I'd want to go to Dracula's castle over in Pennsylvania.
Nice. Okay, you win.
Wild. That would be wild.
All right.
And that is definitely a very haunted spot.
You might win on that one.
I think my dream investigation would be the Bermuda Triangle.
Oh, that's a really good one.
Because there's always people talking about mysterious everything there. And it's like nothing has ever been proved. I think that'd be a good one.
I think mine would probably have to be the Conjuring House. I've always wanted to investigate there.
Favorite technique would definitely be going alone, solo. I know people stress about safety, and it's always good to have somebody with you, granted, but I do believe that being alone, you can capture some of the best evidence that has been captured. Personally, because I believe a lot of stories that I've heard, a lot of stories you read about, happen to people that are alone. So for me, yeah, it would definitely solo all the way.
I like to just go around and kind of feel and just quietly be there and just get a feeling of what's going on.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd say that's a big one. Me, I love my little K2 meter. I keep it with me everywhere. So I kind of like going along with that, but also like Beth said, just kind of like getting a sense for the energy of the space, for what's kind of going on there. That's always wicked helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so favourite techniques, I've got to say, when I've been on arranged ghost hunts, I've had the chance to go on a Ouija board, and they're quite fun to use. So, you know, when we went to the Dana, we had some real good activity on the Ouija board, and we had positive results that were with a group called Spectacular, and they played us a clip back from one of their previous ghost hunts. And there was a guy called Peter Nelks that actually came through on the ghost box, and Peter Nelks was on the Ouija board with us, and you couldn't have put those two together if you tried. So, you know, it's got to be something. So, can we get on plus?
No.
Yes.
I think my favourite technique has to be the use of the Singapore theory in tandem with the spirit box. It's a great way to precipitate a response, especially with those who are not always that keen to speak up. So yeah, it's going to be my favourite way to do it.
Just explain briefly what
The Singapore theory is the use of familiar surroundings, familiar objects, familiar scenarios.
Like what we did at the George.
Like what we did at the George. Yeah. It's the use of an environment that was typical to the era in which the spirit you were targeting lived in. So, for instance, if we were to investigate an old World War II base, we'd wear a couple of World War II soldiers' uniforms and see if we can't coax a response out.
Or even perhaps play music from that era or something like that.
Yeah.
Or a paintball fight, something like that.
So for me, my favourite technique is probably the use of EVPs. We've got some really good responses just lately on the EVPs with the digital voice recorder, and it's quite an easy thing to get hold of. You can pick them up quite cheaply, so you don't have to spend a fortune on expensive equipment. So they definitely are high on the list of good techniques to use.
Yeah. My favorite technique is to show up, get out, and just start walking around. And wherever you feel like you need to stop by, be it you feel something or you just get tired of walking, wherever you feel like going, just take out whatever equipment you have, start rolling on it. Nothing happens, just keep walking. And when you feel like you should stop and do something. We found that we get the best results that way.
Our favorite technique for paranormal investigation is to just kind of document a location and see what happens. We don't really have a set technique or a set flow that we do when we go investigate. We like to just go to that location, whatever it is, whether it's the first time we've been there, whether it's the 20th time we've been there. And no, we haven't investigated a location 20 times yet, but just throwing that out there as part of the example. So whether we've been there once, whether we've been there multiple times, we like to just go with an open mind and just kind of see what happens and just document what happens and go from there. We do like to know the history behind a location and know some of the paranormal hotspots. That way we can set up a V-Pod or a static cam or a static digital recorder there to try to verify and validate the claims of that particular hotspot and try to capture some evidence there. So that way we can gear our EVP questions and spirit box questions to try to get a more pertinent response from whatever spirits or entities are at that particular location. But just because we know the history doesn't mean that we just stay in one location that was supposed to be the most haunted room of that place, nor do we just go in with a focus on debunking or validating the claims that are made, because you can go to a location and you might have one room that everybody says is the most haunted, And that particular night, nothing happens, but down in the basement where nobody's claimed to have any activity, for whatever reason, that night, that happens to be the most active part of the building. So that's why we like to go in with an open mind and just kind of see what happens. So that would be our favorite technique to do in paranormal investigation.
I think my favorite technique would be to just challenge it. Did it with the Lake Lanier, went into the catacombs.
That's true.
And because y'all love it so much, I'm gonna keep doing it.
Honestly, I'd have to say it's first we like take a look around. Like I like doing that first because you get like a sort of like bearing of where you are. We usually, our go-to is like an EMF reading, and when we try to speak with the spirit through the EMF, that's like my favorite part because that's kind of like, oh my gosh, there's something here. Like.
Right, basically the best method that we've come across, and it was given to us by Willow's Paranormal, and basically you're blindfolded, you got headphones, sound cancelling headphones in, and it's plugged into the spirit box. So what happens is they ask questions, and basically I would answer through the spirit box, so I can't hear what they're saying, but they can't hear what I'm hearing. So it's a great method. So there's no, hearing stuff that you want to hear. This is what some people say. So yeah, I think the ST's method is great.
Well, I have to say no to this one. I've been on plenty of ghost hunts. I've never experienced any negativity. So it's no on that one.
Has to be the same for me. I've never brought anything home. I've never had my life affected by anything negative because of an investigation or ghost hunt.
And same for me. I've never experienced anything at home that I think would have followed me home from an investigation. So definitely not.
Hopefully it never will.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, nothing's ever followed me home.
Any negativeness might have followed us back. We believe it might have done because I was at work and my cup was on the side, and it's never happened before. We've heard stuff in our house before, and we believe that there is stuff there anyway, but this was negative because my cup flew off the side and just smashed into bits on the floor. And it was my favourite mug, and it's what Ben bought me. So, yeah, I believe something might have come back because we've never had activity like that before in the house. We've had things going missing, toys going off, but...
Yeah, and then, about 2 weeks later, a piece of duct tape flew off the side.
And fell on the floor, so we're getting a lot...
I went in there, and something shook, so I didn't want to go back in.
So we have had some negative stuff. But nothing else has happened since, so fingers crossed they've buggered off.
Well, none of us so far have experienced any negativity in our everyday life that we think was picked up from an investigation or a spirit following us home. We've all experienced things at our houses and places of residences, but for the most part we think it's just the fact that being paranormal investigators and as passionate and involved in the field as we are, we do believe that all four of us are kind of like beacons for the paranormal. I know myself personally, I do tend to attract a lot of paranormal activity wherever I go, but I don't think I've ever had something follow me home from an investigation yet. I've had experiences at my home that had some negativity to them, but that just happened for one night and then was gone. Dylan, I know, has had a couple slightly negative paranormal experiences where he's been staying too, but again, that wasn't from a spirit following us home, and that was very short-lived too. And Zach, although he hasn't experienced anything lately, had some experiences at his house before he got involved with us that he was uncomfortable with, but nothing that came home from an investigation with him. And then Kaylee, she's experienced a couple things at the house with me, but she hasn't really experienced any of the negative stuff that was before she and I were married. But no, we've been lucky in the fact that we haven't brought stuff home from an investigation with us. At least nothing that caused any negativity. At least nothing that caused any negativity for us.
It has happened. Like, we'll have like almost negative energy, or one of us will be like irritable easily. That does happen a lot of the time when we go on investigations. But I mean, overall, I've had things like happen throughout my life, so it's like I really don't think it came exactly from an investigation. I just feel like sometimes like spirits like are almost, how would you say it, like almost like connected to somebody, like they'll just follow you, you know what I mean, like they find an interest in you or where you are, and they basically just stick with you for a little bit. That's happened to me a few times.
Well, I just draw my negativity out from just draw the conclusion of bad luck. It's real crappy luck.
I mean, yeah, you could debunk it that way.
Although I've had negativity on an investigation, I've never taken it away with me. I've never brought it home. Nothing's ever happened that I would say was to do with the paranormal outside of my investigations.
Since we have been doing our podcast, no. I'd say we both agree with that.
Yes.
We're definitely big on making sure everything stays there and is there. That being said, prior to our podcast, I definitely have had, I had a very bad experience in high school where I got into some stuff and some very dark things started happening to me. And it was horrifying. It was the most horrifying time in our life. And that's for the reason we don't do demons on our podcast. Okay, next question.
We never do anything to protect ourselves before we go in. We kind of just go in like blind.
I don't, because it's just my way to see if it actually works or not.
That's true.
Well, as it goes for protection, we haven't got any salts, we haven't got any oils or anything like that. But we do come in, and before we do an investigation, we'll say, before we get started, we don't mean them any disrespect or any harm. We don't want anything following us home. We just want to come in and prove that you're real and you're about, and we're not going to disrespect you. We'll go on our way straight after we've done it. So we basically are polite to them, and we're polite to them when we go. We say, look, we're going now. Thank you for talking to us, and we'll go.
Protection. No. I don't protect myself at all. I'm not religious in any way. I believe if something's going to happen, it's going to happen. We're dealing with things we don't know about. We don't know the power. We don't know what they can do. We don't know that even if we do protect ourselves, we're going to be protected. So, no, I don't protect myself.
So for me, as a Reiki master, I use my Reiki techniques. I coat myself in white light, things like that. We also always have different crystals on us during investigations, whether it's quartz, obsidian, jet, tourmaline. These are all grounding crystals, ones that help prevent from any kind of like psychic craziness, or just bring in good energy, help get rid of bad energy. So those are some things that we definitely do.
I bring Amelia because she's spooky, and she does all those things she just talked about.
Yeah.
We say a prayer of protection beforehand, but we're open, at least Dylan and I are open to anything that happens during the investigation, whether it's an interaction with a positive, benevolent spirit, or whether it's an interaction that we have with a malicious, negative entity.
So personally, I carry with me a rosary. I'm not specifically a Catholic, but I do believe in its power and its symbolism. I do offer a prayer before and after investigations to protect myself and my team, as well as carrying with me an obsidian necklace.
Yeah, I carry an obsidian necklace like Chris, and that's my protection.
I don't do anything to protect myself during an investigation or after, and I don't carry anything with me either. That is because I think it's very personal to the individual, so it's got to be an object that you have faith in and that you believe in its power, and I haven't found that object for me at the moment. Like Chris said, sorry, he always offers a prayer for himself and the rest of the team. So I guess in one way, you could say he is my protection.
Nine. And to answer the question, I'm going to say 9, which is German for no. I do not think the paranormal world is something that people should be afraid of. To this date, I've been investigating for almost 10 years now. I've never had anything really bad happen to me yet. Dylan's never had anything really bad happen to him. Zach and Kaylee haven't had anything really bad happen to them yet either. And even JT, who's been doing this for 10 years, I keep referring to him because he and I are really good friends. He's an awesome investigator. You should check out Ghost Theory Crew stuff as well. Find him on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook. He grew up in a super haunted house, and he had some crazy experiences, but he hasn't had anything terribly bad happen to him either. Nobody that I know who's investigated the paranormal has had anything happen to them that people should be afraid of. Yes, we've had some run-ins with some negative and malicious entities, but nothing that was life-threatening or seriously threatened us in any way. I think Hollywood has a major stigma that causes a lot of people to be afraid of the paranormal world, because why? Horror movies, horror sells, and Dickens Horror Film Festival, we show a ton of horror films there, and it does scare a lot of people. But I think people get the wrong impression from Hollywood and mainstream media that the paranormal is something that should be afraid of. A good example of this Hollywood bias and stigma is the Ouija board. The Ouija board was created in the late 1800s, and in the 1800s and early 1900s, it was an everyday item. People used it every day in everyday life. And in fact, people were encouraged to sit down with their family and use the Ouija board on a Saturday night together, and then go to church on a Sunday morning. Nothing bad ever happened by using a Ouija board that's been documented from the early 1900s and the late 1800s. The worst things that happened were a couple odd Ouija board-inspired murders. And then a small little movie that nobody knows about called The Exorcist came out in 1976. And overnight, that changed society's perception of Ouija boards. Overnight, the Ouija board went from being a family-friendly, everyday object that anybody 8 years old and up could use, that they were encouraged to use, to being this dark, malicious, demonic doorway that was going to cause you to be possessed if you even touched the Ouija board or looked at it wrong. And sadly, that stigma has grown and grown and grown, and Hollywood and mainstream media have run with that. And today, it splits the paranormal community in half, and it even splits the mainstream society in half. You have half the people that say it's just fine, and half the people say it's the devil's doorway. And personally, we've used the Ouija board a couple times. Nothing has ever happened with it. We've not experienced anything from owning a Ouija board. Nothing happened while using a Ouija board, and we even used it in a location that had some satanic and spiritualistic rituals that took place in it back in its day, and nothing's happened. But then you do have some people that have used it and have had some crazy things happen too. But a lot of it has to do with the power of belief. If you sit down, if you go into a paranormal investigation, you believe you're going to get scared, and you believe something bad is going to happen to you, you've already set yourself up psychologically to be on edge and jumpy and afraid of everything that happens. But if you go into a paranormal investigation and you believe, okay, whatever happens, let's just kind of see what happens, nothing bad is going to happen to me, then you're going to have a fun investigation. So to sum it up, no, the paranormal world is not something that you should be afraid of.
I think anyone getting into the paranormal world, I don't think you should be afraid. I mean, we were pretty scared to start off with.
Oh, still scared.
I'm a very jumpy person. We still get scared, but there is nothing to be afraid of. The dead, they're here. There's nothing we can do about it. As long as you're polite and you respect them, they will respect you back. And I believe that. I really do believe that. They do like Ben. I don't know why they like Ben, but they love Ben. So I don't think there's anything to be afraid of. Right.
I wouldn't say the paranormal is something people should be afraid of. It's we don't know a lot about it, so we don't know what it is we're afraid of at the moment. So I wouldn't say we should be afraid of it. We should definitely be cautious. Cautious, yes. Afraid, no.
I don't think it's necessarily something that people should be afraid of, but I mean, I don't think that you should just mess with spirits. We kind of just do that to see if they're actually there, but once they are there, we don't continue like ridiculing them, that sort of thing, right? I mean, would you agree with that?
Yeah.
But when we went to Fort Wetherill that one time, we were going through these tunnels and everyone else ducked under the like opening of the tunnel, and I went to do it and something like hit me in the face, and you can even ask our cameraman Kyle, because he was right there, and I literally passed out, like blacked out for probably like 5 to 10 seconds, and then I just had the worst headache ever, and I ended up having a concussion.
I would say yes and no. It all just depends on how people's fears work. Because some people are scared of it, some people are not. So I would say if you're scared of it, definitely stay away from it. Because spirits can actually sense that kind of energy from you.
They can sense fear, and it kind of gives them more power.
Excites them.
Yeah.
But if you're not afraid, then I wouldn't suggest it, but if you do it, be safe.
Yeah.
I think as a group, we've talked about this, and we are in agreement. I don't think the paranormal is anything to be afraid of.
No.
No, definitely not.
As long as you use your head and don't do anything stupid, there's nothing to fear.
There's definitely aspects you should be cautious of, and try not to provoke, and just be cautious, be careful, and treat them with the respect you want to be treated with in return. And that's the most important thing.
No, I don't think that the paranormal is something to be afraid of. I think that it's something to be aware of and to respect. But if you're afraid of it, then you're not really understanding it, because it's not there to be scary. It's just another form of energy in our universe. And no, I don't think that you need to be afraid.
I feel similar. I feel it's like science. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going into the lab, you have to know what you're doing, or you could blow up the whole building.
Mm-hmm.
So if you know what you're doing, if you research it, I know a lot of us in the paranormal world, we take so many classes, we do so much. If you know what you're doing, there's absolutely never any reason to be scared. If you don't know what you're doing, if you're playing with things that you do not know how they work, what they do, if you think you know, but you just maybe read something online, or if you are trying to get something negative to come up and talk to you, now you got a problem. Now you should be scared.
My best advice is to get out there and do it. You don't need all this fancy equipment, fancy cameras or anything. Just go out, have fun. Go with some friends, make it a trip, enjoy yourself. Maybe even get a little spooky evidence on your hands at the same time, you know. It should be fun, it should be solid research at the same time. You know, there's a balance between fun and work, and in this field you can have a good mixture of both. Just have a good time, get yourself out there, go do it. I know you want to, so go.
Stay spooky.
Stay spooky.
So, to, advice, I've got to say, have fun. We have loads of fun on our investigations. The positive energy can, help bring out the spirit. So it's always good to have a good laugh, isn't it, Sean?
Yeah, I'd say we don't have, I'm not going to say we don't have fun, but we don't act stupid during investigations. Before an investigation, and perhaps when we're live, it's quite jovial, but as soon as we switch on those cameras and we switch to night vision, we take it very seriously, and as much as we can. But for me, the biggest tip is don't believe everything you see on TV, because a lot of these paranormal shows, shows activity in an investigation from start to finish, and that isn't always the case. Quite often,
yeah, you're gonna have the times that you're not going to pick anything up.
Exactly. So when you do go investigating, and if nothing happens, tell people that nothing happened, because they're going to respect you a lot more for telling the truth than trying to create false evidence. So stay honest. That's my biggest tip. Stay honest and don't lie. Don't falsify any evidence.
They're always going to ask you for proof, and if you've got no proof, no one's going to believe you.
Exactly. So, yeah. Chris?
So, I started this journey a long time ago, and my biggest tip for anyone thinking of entering this world is plan ahead. Do your homework, find out everything you can about the different types of hauntings, different types of ghosts, find out about the different types of equipment, look at groups, how they're doing things, what they're using, plan your kit, plan your locations, plan your team, look ahead. And possibly the biggest thing you can do is ask yourself why. Why are you doing it? Why do you want to do this? Doing it for fun is not necessarily a good enough reason in my book.
No.
Find the reason why you're doing this. We're doing this for our own answers. Personal reasons which drive us to find out why this is happening, what's behind it. So do that, and be one step closer to finding your direction in the paranormal world.
Cat would not stop meowing. This is Rux, by the way. If anyone hears him, that's him meowing. He always meows. Any advice? Honestly, I wouldn't say don't do what we do, because we kind of succeed in what we do, but be very careful when you do like call out a spirit or an entity. You really don't know who you're talking to. They could say that they're one person when they're really somebody else. Using a Ouija board is not recommended.
Definitely not.
We kind of just did that to see if it would actually work or anything would happen, but we kind of put our lives on the line for things like this, like we have multiple times. Wouldn't really recommend it for everybody though, because a lot of people have more to them than they think.
I would say definitely find stuff to protect yourself with. If you do like challenges or anything, follow the rules. Don't break any of the rules, because it can mean your life.
And honestly, get equipment, but don't forget it, because like if you guys are splitting up, you guys need walkies. There is no reason why anybody should split up without having a walkie. We don't even split up half the time, and every time we do that, we're not even that far from each other, and we always have our walkies on.
Right, okay, anyone that wants to get into the paranormal world, you got to go in with an open mind, be prepared that, things might make you jump, and but nothing's going to hurt you. Nothing's going to hurt you at all.
Make sure you don't disrespect it.
Don't disrespect any spirits, because we haven't done that, so we don't know what will happen if you do that. But, as long as you're kind to them, you will see stuff, you will hear stuff. I didn't think I was gonna, you've seen it on the telly, but you will hear stuff and you will see stuff. It is interesting. You will contact people that they're not here no more. They might even matter. I mean, we contacted a guy called Lou, and we found out it was Louis IX of France, a king. Do you know what I mean? A king. We contacted a king, and we were speaking to a king. You don't have to go expensive with the equipment. I mean, the DVRs, you can get them for like, I think £12 on Amazon. The K2 is, I don't know, it wasn't expensive. The most expensive piece of equipment we got is the spirit box. And if you're going to get into it, I do recommend you get the spirit box, because like we've said previously, that is our favourite piece of equipment, and we've got so much evidence from the spirit box. So there you go.
You just have to go and do it. It's helpful to find some people who already have a little bit of knowledge about it, that they can kind of guide you. It's like going to a new restaurant. Go with somebody who already kind of knows that cuisine, that sort of food, and they can kind of guide you toward, well, you might try it this way, or you might order that. right? But you just have to go. You just have to get up one day and say, I am now a ghost hunter.
Absolutely. Also, kind of like what we were saying before, definitely go, definitely do it, have a ton of fun, but go at your own pace. You know what I mean? Go at your own pace. Don't, again, if you want the devil himself to come out and talk to you, don't make that your first one. That's not your first ghost hunt. Just go somewhere cool, somewhere a little haunted, bring some friends, and always have fun with it. And remember, you don't always find a ghost. But you can
Most of the time you actually won't find anything except a good time.
There you go.
So some advice I would give somebody who's thinking of stepping into the world of paranormal investigation research is go for it. I would highly recommend researching online first. Get yourself familiar with terminology, with some of the equipment, with some of the techniques that people use. And then find a local team in your area to join on a paranormal investigation. Because yes, you can start out on your own and figure things out and become a solid, seasoned investigator that way. But having a team that can show you the ropes and give you some advice and that you can ask questions of is really going to help you out too. But don't just find the first team that you see online and say, hey, I want to go out and investigate with you. Find a team that is solid and credible. And by that I mean, like, look at some of the videos they post. If it seems cheesy, if it doesn't seem believable, move on to the next one. Read their About Us section. If they say that they're just out there to have fun and to be the next Ghost Adventures crew, maybe pass on those people. But if they say, hey, we're out there to try to document and figure out what's going on, maybe give them a call and say, hey, I liked what I read on your website. I want to start getting involved in this and researching and figuring out what's going on too. Could I join you for an investigation? So definitely check out their websites, try to check out the evidence, check out their About Us section, and find a good, credible team to go out and investigate with for your first or second time. And then maybe you can think about asking if you could join that team. You could look for another team that has an opening and is looking for an investigator, or you could start your own team. So just have fun, keep an open mind. Don't fall into the Hollywood trap of thinking that the paranormal is going to be scary. Don't fall into the trap of the Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters TV show trap, that every time you go out and investigate, you're going to get possessed or you're going to have tons and tons of activity. Be ready for investigations where you're sitting in a dark room all night and nothing happens, because that's the unfortunate truth of paranormal investigation. It looks all glamorous on TV, but when you get out there, 9 out of 10 times you're going to be bored and not much is going to be happening. But have fun too. Just because you're having a boring investigation, don't let that get you down. Enjoy the location that you're at. Appreciate the fact that you're there, being able to do some field research, trying to find and capture evidence of the paranormal. And then when you do find something awesome, share it. Don't be afraid to share. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to have seasoned investigators or friends or people you know check out your stuff and give their input on it too. And be open to criticism and other people's thoughts on it too. Yes, you'll show people a piece of evidence that's mind-blowing, and some people are going to be like, there's no way that's real, you faked that, or it's just a trick, it's your mind playing tricks on you, and we'll just dismiss it outright. Don't let that get you down. Just be like, okay, thank you for your input, and then move on.
Advice, always safety first. Always let anybody know where you're going. If you are going alone, like I said, solo, I do love investigating solo, but always try and tell somebody where you're going so they know where you are if they can't get hold of you. Advice, enjoy yourself. Just enjoy it, and don't always expect to catch something. Don't always expect to go there and have things thrown about and noises. And I've had investigations, nothing's happened. I've had some investigations, a lot's happened. It's different every time. So enjoy yourself and don't always expect to find anything paranormal. And at the end of it, you don't know that it is paranormal.
We are Afterlife Road on YouTube. We do urban legends, ghost stories. We've been dabbling in true crime a little bit lately in the Mitten State. So we do all these videos in our little region. Maybe even expand in the future. Who knows? But there's a good ghost story everywhere. You just gotta look for it. So that's us. Afterlife Road on YouTube. We'll see ya.
This has been the Paranormal Boys. Thank you for listening to our questions. We're out.
So going forward for us, we're looking forward to all kinds of cool stuff. We're heading down to Rhode Island soon to go hunt at the very haunted Biltmore Hotel. We have some stuff we're thinking about doing up in New Hampshire, and just a lot more craziness here in Boston, which is great. We're already into the summer, and after summer comes fall, and we are very close to Salem, Massachusetts. So we hope to do a lot of fun stuff. We're definitely going to be interviewing some witches very soon, some other people like that. So I think it should be a lot of fun. And yeah, thank you guys so much for having us on this video.
To see past investigations, future projects, please find me on Instagram and Facebook and subscribe to my channel on YouTube. Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening to our Q&A. We love you guys so much, and if you guys don't have us on any of our social media, our Facebook is OTN Paranormal, our YouTube is OTN Paranormal, our Instagram is OTN_paranormal, our Snapchat is OTN Paranormal altogether, and our Anchor is anchor.fm/OTN Paranormal.
So guys, thank you for watching this video with the Paranormal Detectives. Please go and check out their channel if you haven't already. So my name's Brian, this is Nathan. Thank you ever so much for watching. Future plans for us, we have quite a few in the pipeline. We've got an episode we're working on currently, and by the time this video is out, hopefully our episode will be out too. And that is the Poltergeist House. Yeah, it was quite a good location and a good investigation. A lot of interesting things happened there. So I'm looking forward to getting that one out to you guys. We're also planning a return for us, but the first time for Morris and Anderson Paranormal. We're going to have another collaboration, and we'll be filming a bonus episode for series 3 for us, and that's going to be shot. So that is going to be a good one.
Great location, and it'll be great to see Morris and Anderson's take on the place.
Absolutely. Absolutely fantastic place, so I'm really looking forward to going back there. So we've got all that to look forward to, and then very shortly after that we're going to start planning series 4. We've already got some locations in mind for series 4, so we just need to go and make them happen. So they're plenty in mind.
Yep, something else we want to do, we're looking to potentially put some group events together where we can meet you guys that view us, watch us, enjoy our channel. Also other groups, members of the paranormal, we love getting out and meeting new people. Something as paranormal investigators we really enjoy doing is live investigations.
Yeah, we had a taste for that, didn't we?
We've had a good taste for it. We enjoy watching live investigations, we enjoy joining in as moderators, helping.
Yeah.
We think it is the future of the paranormal. Alongside our episodes, we do plan on doing more live investigations. And what we want to try and create is like a virtual investigation for the public to view, for you guys to watch, and basically for us to be your objects to move and do what you would do if you were investigating.
Get involved, it's your
Get
chance.
involved with camera angles all over the shop, so you can literally live the investigation through us. We know there's a lot of people out there that can't make it to investigations. We know people personally, we have a lot of respect and love for, that can't make it to investigations, and we'd love to create a virtual investigation for those, so we'll be working on that in the future.
Alright guys, so we've been the Paranormal Detectives, and until next time, seek in the truth. Thank you.
So we have, as I mentioned at the beginning, our biggest future plan is that we're going to be starting 3 teams in 3 different states around the United States now: Arizona, Colorado, and Missouri. We're looking forward to seeing where this takes us and seeing the team grow together. We also have Dylan and I started the Full Spectrum Paranormal podcast. We started up, then he moved, and then I got ready to move, and then I've been busy, so a little behind on the episodes, but once we get settled down again, hopefully by fall we'll be having some consistent episodes rolling out. We already have a couple up. Go check it out. We're going to be speaking at Spirit Spree in Longmont, Colorado on August 17th. If anybody in Colorado or the United States wants to come out for that, that'll be a fun time. And we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. Go out, experience and document and research the paranormal and have fun. And promote paranormal unity, which is what I love about this video that we're doing here. Paranormal is not something that should be just team specific. It's not about, ooh, I got the best piece of evidence, oh, I have more views than you, oh, I'm a better ghost hunter than you. No, it should be about working together so that we can all together figure out what the paranormal world is and start getting answers. Because when you get into the paranormal, as soon as you answer one question, or you start to answer one question, 100 more are going to pop up, and you're quickly going to find out that the more you learn about the paranormal, the more you actually don't know about it. Which is why we do what we do, to try to get these answers. Thank you for having us. My name's Daniel, with the Spirit Trackers team. Have fun out there, and happy hunting.
Okay guys, that's a wrap from us. Now that season 2 is finished for us, we'll be taking our summer break. But it won't be long before we release our season review.
Yeah, and don't forget every week, every Tuesday at 9 PM, Ghostly Tales with M&A, they're going to be continuing, all over our summer break.
Yeah, and we've got lots of other extra special videos coming out during the summer. Some really fun ones, and maybe a few mini investigations too.
Yep, so we've got a lot coming up for you. We will be back on the 5th of September with the start of season 3. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all the teams that got involved with this. It's been a great project for us. It's been great to talk to everybody and find out what everybody thinks. And thanks to all of you for watching.
And don't forget, guys, give us a big thumbs up, comment below, don't forget to subscribe.
And also, if any teams out there are watching and wishing they were a part of this, then maybe get in touch and we can organise another Q&A video for the future.
Thanks again. See you soon.
See you soon, guys. Stay safe.
Bye.
I'm not sponsored by Red Bull. As every paranormal investigator knows, you can't do anything concerning the paranormal without needing an energy drink in hand. It's just not possible. Too bad we can't get energy drink companies to sponsor us. At least give us a 4-pack of their energy drink.